Hello, my name is Fraser Simons. Today I'm going to be talking about Winter's Bone by Daniel Woodrell, a American Southern book. Some might call it American Southern Gothic, which for me conjures Faulkner, and I'm not sure that that's an apt comparison. It's more stark and realistic than Faulkner's South, which is very it does have moments of realism in it, but it's more like grotesque and disturbing, and loss of agency is more, it can be systemic like in these Southern books, but it's done in a different way for me, and usually has Gothic imagery as well, whereas this does not. So I'm curious where it lays on the spectrum. If you know about American Southern lit and Southern Gothic, let me know where you think this falls if you're familiar with Woodrell and this book. Most people are coming from this as the movie, I bet. Jennifer Lawrence is in it. That's what I saw first, and then I came to the book after. David Joy really likes Woodrell's stuff. I've seen a bunch of his reviews of it, and I like David Joy's stuff very much. It's very cool and interesting work that's being done there, so I immediately hopped on it and am very glad that I did. Ree is a daughter of a meth cooker who is the more or less family matriarch. She's taking care of the two siblings that she has and her mother who has some sort of sickness going on. She's unable to care for the kids, so it falls to Ree. She's about 16, 17, I believe. She's contemplating leaving for a military service so that her family gets money right away, because they're just barely getting by. Poverty is a very strong theme and prevalent in this book. It is really humanizing, though. It's not done in a poverty tourism way whatsoever. This book takes very great care in humanizing everybody that most other lit would, or even in the public conscious, call like hicks and hillbillies and stuff like that. These people are very interesting. They have deep cultural roots. They have bloodlines and blood ties. They have hierarchies. They have different sort of codes of honor, what's expected, what's done, how they interact with the law, how they interact with each other, and how they interact with their neighbors. So it's just a very interesting book. And so the poverty that Rhea is experiencing is exacerbated even more when her father is taken to jail, and to get out he has to consult a bondsman, and he puts a lien on Rhea's family house and their acreage. Basically, she has some horses, she has a bunch of forest that's been in the family for ages. It's like a lineage ancestry thing. Selling it would be out of the question, but they're barely getting by as it is, so they wouldn't be able to pay the expensive bond that the father has taken out. And a complication is that the father's now in the wind. Nobody can find him, and he's wanted for court in about 2 days, I think the bondman says. And if he doesn't show up, then their property's just gone. So Ree takes it upon herself to go and find her dad and just figure out what's going on. So it's a very simple story. It's not a thick book whatsoever, but a lot happens. And it does a great job of explaining the differences between the families, but where they also come together, even if it's to help out somebody that they dislike, if it's something that they feel they should be bound to do, even if it's like a bloodline thing or blood debt, then they do it. So it's kind of got like a Western feel to it, well, in the sense that it's like Cormac McCarthy examining Westerns and doing it from a lens where he's talking about what's wrong with society. This similarly does that. So it puts a stark light onto the South, but it's also very humanizing and treats people with a lot of respect, treats their cultural aspects with a great respect, and also with a lens that he seems to know what he's talking about. And everyone just has a lot of character. It's kind of crime, mystery, thriller, but in a literary sense, especially with the prose. The prose are somewhat purple sometimes, but it's also peak descriptive writing with active verbiage. The diction is impeccable. There's some cool stuff with alliteration. It's a little bit experimental feeling where he's nouning verbs and stuff like that, but that type of writing, it would be a very good entry point for somebody, because the story and the plot is very accessible and straightforward, and you'll quickly learn if you're into that kind of prose, because it starts out like that. It's punchy, it's interesting, it's evocative. As far as I can tell, Woodrell could talk about absolutely anything and I'd be interested in it. And the story plays out in a very interesting way. Ree walks this sort of masculine, feminine line, which was very interesting. Usually people in that sense tend to skew a female character to one or the other, whereas Ree has feminine qualities that are very interesting, but even in her expressions, mannerisms, speech, diction, you get the sense that she is a 16-year-old girl, but she's also very wise in other aspects of life and this culture, and just a very responsible, ingenious, interesting character that's awesome to follow and get to know. So it's something I definitely would recommend, as long as you are okay with the opposite of Hemingway-esque modern prose, which this is what I prefer over the Hemingway type of prose and diction and style. This craft is almost impeccable as far as I can tell. If it was just a little less purple and the pacing was a little bit better, even though it's a small book, I actually think it could breathe a little bit longer. It seems kind of frenetic sometimes, but it's a fantastic book. So if you like the movie and you're wondering if you should pick up the book, absolutely do. Being in that headspace is incredible, and I will definitely be picking up more Woodrell's books. I will probably grab as many as I can after this, just like I did with David Joy. So if you've read Woodrell, feel free to comment and tell me what I should jump to next. Any really strong ones where I could really get propelled into liking the author and not like a stumbling block of some of his not as great work, maybe, would be appreciated. And if you know about this literary scene, I would be very interested to know how people are classifying this book, if they are, or if they're just drawing intersections. Where are they drawing it? Is it literary Southern Gothic, literary American Southern? I think on Goodreads I've just been putting American Southern because it's the best I could do, and I wanted to draw a distinction between general literary scene, commercial fiction, and what everybody else is doing, because this feels distinctly within the scene of what David Joy is doing as well. So it's very interesting. Anyway, that'll do it for me. I'm Fraser Simons. Hopefully I'll catch you next video. See you later.